You're lying next to someone you supposedly love, and you've never felt more alone in your entire life. They're right there, breathing next to you, maybe scrolling through their phone, maybe asleep. But you might as well be on different planets. And the worst part, you can't even explain why. You just know that this emptiness, this hollow feeling in your chest, it's eating you alive from the inside out. And nobody talks about this. Nobody warns you that you can be in a relationship and feel more isolated than you ever did when you were actually single. So, let me ask you something real quick. When was the last time you felt truly seen by your partner? Not just looked at. Seen. Yeah, I'll wait. Here's the thing nobody tells you about relationships. They sell you this fairy tale that once you find someone, once you're not alone anymore, all that loneliness just disappears like magic. But that's garbage. That's a lie. We've been fed by movies and Instagram couples who fake their happiness for likes. The truth is way darker than that. The truth is you can share a bed with someone every single night and still feel like you're screaming into a void where nobody hears you. And that specific type of loneliness, it hits different. It's not the same as being single and lonely. This one comes with guilt. This one comes with confusion. Because how do you tell people you're lonely when you literally have someone right there? How do you explain that to your friends without sounding ungrateful or dramatic? You know what makes it worse? You start questioning everything. You start wondering if something's wrong with you. Maybe you're too needy. Maybe you're asking for too much. Maybe this is just what relationships become after the honeymoon phase ends. But deep down, you know that's not it. You know this isn't normal. You know that partnership shouldn't feel like solitary confinement with a witness. Let me tell you exactly why this happens, because once you understand the mechanic of this thing, you can actually do something about it. And trust me, you need to do something about it, because this type of loneliness doesn't just sit there quietly. It grows, it spreads, it poisons everything until one day you wake up and realize you've become a stranger to the person sleeping next to you. First reason you feel lonely. You've stopped being vulnerable and you don't even realize it. Think about when you first got together. You probably stayed up all night talking about everything. Your fears, your dreams. That embarrassing thing that happened in 7th grade. You were raw, you were open, you were real. But somewhere along the way you started editing yourself. You stopped sharing the messy parts. You stopped saying the things that actually mattered because you got comfortable, or maybe you got scared. And here's what happens when you stop being vulnerable. You start living on the surface of your own relationship. Everything becomes about logistics. Did you pay the electric bill? What do you want for dinner? What time are we meeting your parents? And sure, those things matter, but they're not connection. They're just coordination. Your roommates with benefits at that point. And your partner. They're doing the exact same thing. Both of you are walking around with entire worlds inside your heads, entire storms of thoughts and feelings and fears, and you're sharing none of it. You're both lonely together, which is probably the most tragic thing I can think of. You're both starving for real connection while sitting at the same table. But nobody wants to go first. Nobody wants to break the pattern, because breaking patterns feels uncomfortable and risky. Here's what you don't get until it's almost too late. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the only way back to each other. But you've built these walls brick by brick, conversation by conversation, every time you said I'm fine when you weren't fine. Every time you kept something to yourself because it seemed easier than explaining. And now those walls are so high, you can barely see each other anymore. Second reason, and this one's gonna sting, you've lost yourself trying to be what you think they want. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You've shape-shifted so many times you forgot what your original form even looks like. Maybe you stopped hanging out with certain friends because your partner didn't vibe with them. Maybe you quit hobbies that mattered to you because they took time away from the relationship. Maybe you started agreeing with opinions you don't actually hold just to avoid conflict. And every single time you did that, you lost a piece of yourself. You carved away parts of your identity and handed them over like sacrifices on an altar of keeping the peace. But here's the sick irony. When you lose yourself, you become less interesting to your partner. You become less of the person they fell for in the first place. And then you wonder why they seem distant. You wonder why conversations feel empty. It's because you're not bringing your full self to those conversations anymore. You're bringing this watered-down, acceptable version that you think they want. And that version, it's boring. It's not you. So of course you feel lonely. You're not even in the relationship. You've sent a representative. Think about it like this. When you met them, you were whole. You had your own life, your own interests, your own fire. That's what attracted them. But then you made the classic mistake of thinking that being in a relationship means merging into one person, becoming a we at the expense of the me. And now you're sitting there feeling empty because you've given away so much of yourself that there's nothing left to give, nothing left to feel. Let me hit you with the third reason, and this one's probably the most brutal. You've stopped actually listening to each other. I'm not talking about hearing words. I'm talking about listening, really listening. When was the last time your partner told you something and you put your phone down, looked them in the eyes, and actually absorbed what they were saying? When was the last time you asked a follow-up question because you genuinely wanted to understand, not just because you were being polite? I'll tell you when you can't remember. Most conversations in relationships become transactional after a while. Information exchange, surface-level updates. You're talking at each other, not to each other. Your partner comes home and tells you about their day, and you're already thinking about what you're going to say when it's your turn. You're not present, you're not engaged. You're just waiting for your moment to speak, and they can feel that. They can feel that you're not really there, even though you're nodding in all the right places. And it goes both ways. They're doing the same thing to you. So both of you are talking to people who aren't really listening, which means both of you are essentially talking to yourselves. No wonder you feel lonely. You are lonely. You're having parallel monologues instead of actual dialogue. Here's the thing about being heard. It's a basic human need. It's not optional. When someone truly listens to you, when they see you and acknowledge you and make you feel like what you're saying matters, that's connection. That's intimacy. But when nobody's listening, when you're just noise in someone's background, that's isolation. That's loneliness wearing a relationship costume. Fourth reason this is happening, you've let routine kill spontaneity. Your relationship has become predictable to the point of suffocation. Same conversations, same activities, same everything. You know exactly how they're going to react to things. You know what they're going to say before they say it. There's no discovery anymore, no surprise, no excitement. Just the same loop playing over and over until you want to scream. And predictability feels safe at first. Don't get me wrong, there's comfort in knowing what to expect, but too much predictability turns into stagnation, it turns into boredom, and when you're bored in a relationship, when there's nothing new to explore together, you start feeling lonely because you're not growing. You're not evolving, you're just existing next to each other, going through the same motions day after day. Think about when you were first together. Everything was an adventure. Even going to the grocery store felt exciting because you were doing it together. But now you're on autopilot. You've stopped creating new experiences. You've stopped trying new things. You've settled into this comfortable prison where everything's familiar and nothing's alive. And that's where loneliness breeds, in the dead spaces between routine. Here's the fifth reason, and this might be the one that hits closest to home. You're using your partner to fill a void that they were never supposed to fill. You came into this relationship already feeling incomplete, already feeling like something was missing, and you thought they were going to fix that. You thought their love was going to heal whatever was broken inside you. But that's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. Your partner can't make you whole. They can't fix your relationship with yourself. They can't fill the emptiness that comes from not knowing who you are or what you want. And when you put that pressure on them, when you make them responsible for your happiness, two things happen. First, they fail because that's an impossible job. And second, you resent them for failing, even though you never should have asked them to do it in the first place. So you end up lonely because you're still carrying all that original emptiness, except now it's complicated by the fact that you're in a relationship that was supposed to solve it. You're disappointed. They're exhausted from trying to be enough for you. And neither of you is getting what you need because you're looking in the wrong place. The loneliness you feel in your relationship. A lot of times it's actually loneliness with yourself. It's the disconnection from your own identity, your own purpose, your own inner world. And you can't fix that by demanding more from your partner. You fix that by doing the internal work that you've been avoiding. Sixth reason you've stopped being curious about them. You think you know everything about your partner. You think you've got them figured out. But people aren't static. People change. they evolve, they have new thoughts and new fears and new dreams, but you've stopped asking about any of that. You've stopped being interested in who they're becoming because you're stuck on who they were when you met them. Your partner is a whole universe that's constantly expanding, and you've stopped exploring. You've drawn a map of who you think they are, and you've decided that's good enough. But it's not, because the person next to you right now isn't the same person they were last year or even last month. And if you're not keeping up with who they're becoming, you're in a relationship with a memory, not a person. This is why you can be with someone for years and suddenly feel like you don't know them anymore. Because you don't. You stopped paying attention. You stopped asking questions. You stopped being curious. And now there's this gap between who they actually are and who you think they are, and that gap is filled with loneliness. Let me give you the seventh reason, and then we'll talk about what you can actually do about all of this. You've forgotten how to be present. You're physically there, but mentally you're everywhere else. You're thinking about work when you're having dinner. You're scrolling through social media when they're trying to talk to you. You're planning tomorrow when you should be experiencing today. And presence, that's where intimacy lives, that's where connection happens. But you can't be present because you're anxious or distracted or overwhelmed or all of the above. So even when you're together, you're not really together. And your partner can feel that absence. They can feel that they don't have your full attention, your full energy, your full presence. And that makes them feel lonely too, which makes them pull away, which makes you feel even more lonely. And suddenly you're in this cycle where both of you are starving for something neither of you is giving. So what do you do about all of this? How do you fix loneliness in a relationship without blowing everything up? First, you've got to start being honest, brutally honest. Not mean, but real. You need to tell your partner that you feel lonely. You need to say the scary thing out loud. And yeah, that conversation is going to be uncomfortable. It's going to feel vulnerable and risky. But you know what's riskier? Letting this loneliness fester until it kills whatever you have left. So you sit them down and you say, I need to talk to you about something that's been eating at me. I feel lonely in this relationship and I need us to figure out why. No accusations, no blame, just truth. Second, you need to start sharing the real stuff again. The messy thoughts, the weird fears, the embarrassing moments, the things you usually keep to yourself because they don't seem important enough or they're too vulnerable. Share them anyway. Make it a practice. Every day tell your partner one real thing, one thing that actually matters, not surface level updates, deep stuff, and create space for them to do the same. Third, you need to reclaim yourself. This is critical. You need to go back and pick up all those pieces of yourself that you abandoned. Reconnect with those friends. Start that hobby again. Do the things that make you feel like you. Even if your partner isn't interested in them, you are not supposed to dissolve into the relationship. You're supposed to bring your whole self to it. So build yourself back up. Become interesting to yourself first. Fourth, learn how to listen like you're hearing them for the first time. Put the phone away. Turn off the TV. Look at them. Actually look at them. And when they talk, listen to understand, not to respond. Ask questions. Be curious. Show them that what they're saying matters to you. And do this consistently until it becomes natural again. Fifth, break the routine. Inject some spontaneity back into your life together. Do something you've never done. Go somewhere new. Try something that scares you both a little. Create new experiences that you can share. Because shared experiences build connection. They give you something to talk about. They remind you why you chose each other in the first place. Sixth, stop expecting them to complete you. Do your own inner work. Figure out who you are outside of this relationship. Build a life that would be fulfilling even if they weren't in it. Not because you're planning to leave, but because you need to be whole on your own. You need to bring a complete person to the relationship, not a half person looking for their missing pieces. And seventh, practice presence. When you're with them, be with them. Fully. No distractions. No divided attention. Just you and them in the moment. It's harder than it sounds in our phone-obsessed world, but it's necessary. Start small. Give them 10 minutes of undivided attention every day. Then build from there. Look, loneliness in a relationship is one of the most painful things you can experience because it comes with this layer of confusion and guilt that makes it even harder to address. You're supposed to be happy. You're supposed to be connected. And when you're not, you feel like you're failing at something that should be natural. But here's what you need to understand. Feeling lonely in a relationship doesn't mean the relationship is doomed. It doesn't mean you picked the wrong person. It means something needs to change. It means you've drifted and you need to find your way back to each other. And you can do that if both of you are willing to be honest and vulnerable and do the work. You can absolutely rebuild that connection, but you have to start now, not tomorrow, not when things get bad enough that you have no choice. Now, because every day you let this loneliness continue is another day you're wasting in isolation when you could be experiencing actual intimacy. So here's what I want you to do tonight. I want you to have that conversation. I want you to tell your partner one true thing about how you've been feeling. Not everything, not all at once, just one real thing, and see what happens. See if they meet you there. See if they're willing to start bridging this gap with you. And if they are, keep going. Keep being real, keep showing up as your full self, keep choosing presence over autopilot. You deserve to feel connected in your relationship. You deserve to feel seen and heard and known, but you have to be willing to show up for that. You have to be willing to do the uncomfortable work of being vulnerable again, of being curious again, of being present again. The loneliness you're feeling right now, it's not permanent, it's not your destiny. It's just where you are right now, and where you are right now can change, but only if you decide to change it. So decide, make the choice, have the conversation, take the first step back toward each other. Let's level up together. Let's stop accepting loneliness as the price of being in a relationship. Let's start building the kind of connection that actually fills us up instead of leaving us empty. You've got this. Now go do it.